The morning sun hadn't yet burned the chill from the Texas dust when the insults started flying. "Reckon the millionaire's gone soft," one ranch hand spat, spitting tobacco near Layla's boots. "Hiring a maid that can't even curtsy right." Laughter followed, sharp and mean. Before we start, subscribe now so you don't miss more incredible stories like this one. Oh, and before we dive in, tell us in the comments where you are watching this video from. We love hearing from you, and always read every message. Layla kept her head down, clutching a bucket of wash water, pretending she hadn't heard. The air stank of horses, pride, and cruelty. Ethan Montgomery's shadow fell long across the yard as he stepped from the stables, his voice calm but cold. "You boys seem mighty bold for men on my payroll." The laughter died, but one man, Hank's younger cousin Roy, sneered. "We just wonder what kind of fancy rancher keeps a girl like that around. Ain't exactly your class, is she?" The bucket slipped from Layla's hand, water splashing into the dust. Her cheeks flushed scarlet. Ethan's eyes hardened. "You'll mind your tongue," he said evenly. Roy shrugged, grinning. "Guess the millionaire's got himself a soft spot for the help." Before Ethan could answer, the horses screamed, a high, panicked sound that sliced through the morning. Then came the smell of smoke. Everyone turned. Black plumes were rising from the east barn. "Fire!" someone shouted. Chaos erupted, men shouting, running for buckets, horses thrashing in their stalls. And in the midst of it, Layla bolted toward the flames without hesitation. Ethan froze for half a heartbeat, then sprinted after her, the insults still burning hotter than the fire itself. By sunrise, the barn was nothing but smoke and ruin. The scent of wet ash clung to the morning air, mingling with whispers sharper than barbed wire. "She was the last one near the stalls," muttered one ranch hand, loud enough for all to hear. "Fire didn't start itself." Another added, "Ain't it strange how she shows up and trouble follows?" Layla stood off to the side, hands blistered from hauling water through the night, eyes red from smoke and shame. Every whisper felt like a lash. "She risked her life in there," Ethan said, voice steady but tight. "If you're looking to blame someone, you'd best find proof before you speak." "Proof?" Roy scoffed, face still bruised from the earlier fight. "Ain't no proof needed when the smell of guilt's that strong." Before Ethan could retort, the rhythmic click of heels broke the tension. Abigail Carter approached, her perfume arriving before her words. She looked every inch the polished widow. Silk gown, crimson lips, and a smile sharpened like a blade. "Oh, Ethan," she sighed dramatically, surveying the wreckage. "Such a tragedy, and such poor company you keep these days. You can never trust the help, not with fire, nor with hearts." The ranch hands chuckled. Margaret Montgomery, standing nearby, stiffened but said nothing. Abigail's hand brushed Ethan's sleeve, feigned sympathy in her eyes. "You deserve better than rumors and servants' drama. People are already talking, you know." Ethan's jaw flexed. "Then let them talk," he said flatly. "A good man doesn't abandon the innocent just to silence cowards." Abigail's smile faltered, just for a heartbeat, before she turned away, her perfume trailing behind like smoke after flame. The Silver Creek Town Hall glittered with lanterns and laughter that night. The county social was the grandest event of the season, where silk gowns brushed against dusted boots and gossip poured smoother than whiskey. Ethan arrived late, tall and stoic in his black suit. Whispers followed him like shadows. The fire, the maid, the rumors. Abigail Carter floated toward him, her dress the color of deep wine, smile glinting beneath the lights. "Ethan Montgomery," she purred. "You look lonely tonight." He offered a polite nod. "Just here to support the town." "Oh, of course," she said sweetly. "Though I hear you've been supporting your maid, too. So noble of you, taking pity on a poor girl." A ripple of laughter spread through the nearby crowd. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Mind your tongue, Abigail." But she leaned closer, voice low and venomous. "You're too fine a man to waste your name on a servant. People will think you've lost your class. Or your mind." Layla, standing near the serving tables, froze as she heard her name whispered through mocking lips. Heads turned, eyes burned with cruel amusement. One man, half drunk with more pride than sense, smirked and said, "Guess the millionaire's got himself a sweetheart in the laundry room." The room erupted with laughter. Ethan's fist struck before anyone could stop him. The man stumbled backward, blood blooming from his lip. Silence crashed over the hall. Ethan looked around, fury simmering. "Not one of you knows her. Not one of you deserves to speak her name." He stormed out, boots echoing across the floor. Layla, trembling behind the curtains, clutched her apron and slipped into the dark, tears catching the moonlight as she ran from the sound of her own heartbreak. The next afternoon, the air over Silver Creek hung heavy, too still, too hot, like the world was holding its breath. Layla had been silent since the county social. She worked near the barn, sleeves rolled high, face pale with exhaustion. The others didn't speak to her anymore. When they did, it was in mutters. Roy leaned against the fence, smirking. "Careful with that pitchfork, sweetheart. Wouldn't want you to start another fire." Laughter followed. Layla froze. "I didn't—" "Oh, we know," Roy interrupted, voice mocking. "You just happen to be near every bit of trouble that finds the Montgomerys. First the fire, now the fight. Maybe you like ruining men." Before she could reply, a hard voice cut through the air. "That's enough." Ethan strode from the stables, eyes dark as a storm. Roy's grin widened. "Look who's come riding in to rescue his damsel." The punch landed before the insult finished. Roy hit the dirt hard. Ethan's fist met his jaw again, rage spilling loose after days of holding it back. The others shouted, trying to pull him away, but Ethan was beyond reason, fists flying, dust and blood mixing beneath his boots. "Say her name again," he snarled, voice shaking. Roy spat blood and fear. "You'll ruin yourself over a maid." Ethan struck him once more, then staggered back, breathing hard. Hank Barrett caught his arm. "Enough, son. You'll kill him." Margaret had seen everything from the porch. Her voice trembled with fury and disbelief. "You've disgraced your father's name for her?" Ethan wiped his bloody knuckles, eyes cold. "No, Mother," he said. "I've defended it." That evening, the Montgomery ranch sat in uneasy silence. The sunset burned crimson across the plains, a sky that looked as if it too had caught fire. Margaret stood at the dining table, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "You fought a man, Ethan. Over a servant. Do you understand what you've done to this family's name?" Ethan stood tall, jaw set. "I defended a woman who was insulted under my roof." "She's beneath you," Margaret snapped, "and you'll drag us all down with her." Layla lingered in the doorway, trembling, unseen at first. Her chest tightened with every word. She had heard enough whispers to know what the town was saying, but hearing it from Ethan's own mother pierced deeper than any rumor. "I never meant to cause trouble," she said softly. "I should leave." Ethan turned, eyes desperate. "Layla, no!" Margaret's voice rose, hard and final. "Let her go. It's the only decent thing left to do." The room fell still. Layla stepped inside, tears shining in her eyes but her spine straight with pride. "Thank you for your kindness, ma'am. I'll gather my things." When she turned, Ethan caught her wrist, gentle but firm. "You've done nothing wrong," he said. "You're not leaving because of them." She met his gaze, her voice trembling. "I'm poison to your name, Ethan. If I stay, you'll lose everything." His grip tightened. "Then let me burn," he whispered. "But I'll burn for the truth." Thunder cracked outside, rattling the windows. Margaret gasped softly, not at the storm, but at the look in her son's eyes. The fire in him wasn't from pride anymore, it was love, and it terrified her. Rain rolled in over Silver Creek like smoke from an unseen fire. By morning the ranch felt different, colder, watchful, and heavy with the scent of mud and suspicion. Layla moved quietly, avoiding eyes that once greeted her kindly. Even the kitchen girls whispered when she passed. Something was spreading through the house like poison, and she could feel it in every silence. Then the sheriff's horse appeared through the rain. Margaret and Ethan came out to meet him, confusion etched on their faces. "We've received word," the sheriff said grimly, "of stolen jewelry. A gold locket belonging to Mrs. Montgomery." Margaret's hand went to her throat. "My mother's locket?" The sheriff nodded. "We've reason to believe it was taken by one of your staff." Layla froze in the doorway, heart pounding. She hadn't seen the locket since cleaning Margaret's dressing table days ago. "Search her things," came Roy's voice from the porch. His smirk twisted in the rain. "She's been acting guilty since the fire." Ethan's glare could have split stone, but the sheriff was already opening Layla's trunk. Inside, between folded linens, gleamed the locket. The air went dead. Layla shook her head, voice breaking. I would never." Margaret turned away, tears of fury in her eyes. "After everything we gave you." Ethan stepped forward. "This is a setup," he said through clenched teeth. "Someone planted it." But the sheriff had already closed the box. "I'm sorry, Mr. Montgomery." Until proven otherwise, the girls to leave the property. Layla's tears mixed with rain as she walked past Ethan, her voice barely a whisper. "Even love can't save me from their world." He reached for her, but she was already gone, swallowed by thunder and the storm. Days passed, but the rain wouldn't stop, as if heaven itself was ashamed of what Silver Creek had become. The fire was gone, the barn rebuilt, yet the house felt hollow. Even the walls seemed to echo with absence. Margaret Montgomery sat in her parlor, staring at the empty space on her dresser where her mother's locket once gleamed. She'd worn it every Sunday for 30 years. Her hand trembled as she reached for the teacup she hadn't touched. Mrs. Thompson, the housekeeper, lingered near the doorway. "Ma'am," she said softly, "I keep thinking about that girl, Miss Layla. She never took so much as an apple without asking. Something about this don't sit right." Margaret's eyes flicked up, hard and defensive. "The locket was found in her trunk." "Yes, ma'am," Mrs. Thompson said carefully. "But I packed that trunk myself when she first came. It don't make sense. And Roy, he's been whispering too loud for a man with clean hands." Margaret's composure faltered. She remembered the look in Layla's eyes. Not defiance, but heartbreak. And Ethan. He hadn't spoken to her since that night. His silence was its own punishment. She rose slowly, moving to the window. Outside, the land stretched wide and lonely, the creek swollen with rain. "My husband built this ranch on trust," she murmured, "and I let lies tear it apart." Behind her, Mrs. Thompson nodded. "It ain't too late to make it right, ma'am. But when a heart breaks that pure, it's mighty hard to fix." Margaret watched the rain blur the world beyond the glass. For the first time, she wondered if pride had blinded her worse than any lie ever could. The storm had passed, but the land still smelled of rain and regret. Silver Creek was quiet again. Too quiet. The workers kept their distance. Even the horses seemed uneasy, as if they too sensed something had broken that couldn't be mended. Ethan rode alone to the hill behind the ranch, where his father's grave overlooked the valley. He dismounted slowly, hat in hand, the wind tugging at his coat. The carved stone read, "Samuel Montgomery, a man of honor, a keeper of his word." He knelt, eyes hollow. "You always said a man's worth is in who he stands beside," he whispered. "But what if the whole town's against her? What if I lose everything you built?" The wind answered with silence. His thoughts spun. Layla's tear-streaked face, his mother's disappointment, Abigail's mocking smile. Every memory twisted until he could no longer tell right from ruin. "Was I blind?" he muttered. "Or was I the only one who saw her clear?" Thunder grumbled in the distance, a storm returning, or maybe just his heart echoing itself. He rose, anger and confusion burning through him. "If she was framed, I'll find out who did it," he swore, voice trembling. "If she wasn't," he hesitated, pain flickering across his face, "then I've been loving a lie." A hawk cried overhead, circling once before vanishing into the clouds. Ethan's fists clenched. He turned toward the ranch, eyes dark with decision, torn between doubt and devotion. In that moment, something in the wind whispered her name. And for the first time since she left, he wasn't sure if it was memory or a warning. The days bled into weeks, and Silver Creek felt emptier with every sunrise. The laughter was gone, the halls were quiet, and Margaret Montgomery could not escape the ghost of her own guilt. She sat at her writing desk one night, candlelight trembling over her pen. "Layla," she wrote, "if I could undo what pride has done, I would. Come home, not as a servant, but as someone this house owes its peace to." The ink smeared where her tears touched it. She sealed the letter herself and sent Hank to deliver it to the next town. But no answer came. Each day, Margaret waited by the porch, watching the road stretch endlessly under the sun. Her pride, once her armor, now felt like a shackle. "I drove her away," she whispered one night to the wind, "and now I see what I've done to my son." In a small boarding house miles away, Layla read the letter beneath a flickering lamp. Her hands trembled as she traced Margaret's signature. Part of her wanted to tear it apart, the wounds still too raw. The world had called her a thief, a liar, and worse. But another part, the softer one that still remembered Ethan's voice in the storm, couldn't let go. She folded the letter carefully, pressed it to her heart, and whispered, "Maybe this time, I'll stop running." The next morning she boarded a wagon bound for Silver Creek. The road stretched wide and lonely before her, and though fear sat heavy in her chest, hope flickered beside it like a stubborn flame refusing to die. By the time Layla's wagon rolled into Silver Creek, the sun had dipped low, the kind of sunset that painted the sky in blood and forgiveness. She hesitated at the ranch gates, heart pounding like the hooves of a galloping horse. Inside, Margaret and Ethan stood in the parlor with the sheriff. Hank Barrett had brought word. Roy had been boasting in the saloon, drunk and careless, about earning a fine coin from Miss Abigail. Ethan's eyes darkened. What did he say? That she paid him to put something in the maid's trunk, Hank answered grimly. Said it was just a bit of fun. Thought no one'd ever find out. The sheriff turned to Margaret. That enough for you, ma'am? Margaret's voice cracked. More than enough. Moments later, Abigail Carter entered, uninvited, draped in confidence that didn't last long. "My, what a gathering! Did I miss supper?" she said lightly. Ethan stepped forward, fury barely contained. "You framed her. You lied to destroy a woman who never wronged you." Abigail's smile faltered. "I don't know what you mean." "The stable boy confessed," Margaret cut in sharply. "Your name came from his own lips." The sheriff moved closer. "You can deny it at the station, Mrs. Carter." Her mask cracked, pride shattering beneath the weight of her own schemes. "She didn't belong here," she cried. "None of you saw it. She was beneath us all." "Not beneath me," Ethan said, his voice steady. "Above every lie you've ever told." As Abigail was led out into the dusk, Layla stepped through the doorway, silent, trembling, eyes glistening. Ethan turned, disbelief and relief washing over him. For the first time in weeks, hope breathed again inside the walls of Silver Creek. The morning after Abigail's arrest, Silver Creek woke to a strange kind of quiet. Not the heavy silence of guilt, but the gentle calm that comes after rain. The sky was pale and clean, as if the land itself had washed away its shame. Margaret found Layla in the garden, kneeling among the roses that had somehow survived every storm. The girl's hands were dirty, her sleeves rolled high, her face streaked with both sunlight and memory. For a long moment, Margaret just watched her. The same maid she had once dismissed now knelt where her own pride had fallen. "Those roses came back stronger than I expected," Margaret said softly. Layla startled, then stood quickly, brushing her apron. "Ma'am, I didn't mean to intrude. I was only tending to what was left." Margaret stepped closer, her eyes gentler than they'd ever been. You didn't ruin anything, child. You're the only thing that's helped it grow again. Layla froze, unsure if she'd heard right. Margaret's voice trembled. I was wrong. About you. About love. I thought pride protected a family, but it only built walls too high for forgiveness to climb. Tears welled in her eyes as she reached for Layla's hand. My husband built this ranch with strength. But you've given it back its heart. If you'll forgive an old woman's blindness, you'll always have a home here. Layla's throat tightened. She couldn't speak. She only nodded, tears falling freely as Margaret drew her into a trembling embrace. From the porch, Ethan watched, silent, eyes glistening with gratitude. For the first time, he saw his mother and the woman he loved standing together in the same light. And for the first time, he believed in peace. The night air over Silver Creek shimmered with the soft hum of crickets and the whisper of the prairie wind. The ranch, once broken by lies and pride, now glowed with life again. Laughter from the kitchen, music from the porch, and the faint scent of lilacs drifting through the fields. Ethan stood by the corral, hat in hand, watching the stars stretch endlessly across the Texas sky. When Layla stepped beside him, the world seemed to still. You rebuilt the barn, she said softly. He smiled. Couldn't let it stay in ashes. It reminded me too much of us. She looked at him then. Really looked. The man who had once been the untouchable millionaire now seemed nothing but human, his eyes gentle and open. And what are we now, Ethan? She asked. He took her hand slowly, his thumb brushing over her fingers. We're what comes after the fire. For a long moment, neither spoke. The sky above them was vast and quiet, a blanket of silver stretching toward forever. Then Margaret appeared at the porch, lantern in hand, watching them from a distance. Her expression soft, almost smiling. Ethan turned back to Layla, his voice low. I don't care what the town thinks. I don't care about names or titles. You're my home, Layla. Tears glistened in her eyes. And you're the heart I never thought I'd find. He drew her close, their foreheads touching beneath the Texas stars. Around them, the ranch breathed again, alive, free, and whole. Somewhere in the night, a lone coyote howled, and the wind carried with it the promise of forever. In the dust of the Wild West, even the richest man had fallen for the simplest heart, and found gold where love had taken root. Thanks for riding with us, friends. If you want more Western love stories, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one.